we're a mapping company, so most of our work gets used with engineers, surveyors. But since 2012, we started our 3D modeling. So this is a new avenue for us with Filmmakers. We usually use our 3D models as a survey data. So if engineers want to design something, they want to use it for planning, they can use our models. But also it's a really, within the council environment, it's a really good communication and engagement tools. So lots of councils, not only they're using it as a survey product, but use it as a community engagement tool. So it's it's an interactive, very visual product. So if, for example, you've got climate change issue we were just talking about, just showing the footage of your cliffs, showing where it is eroded. For example, if you put two models on top of each other, you can get even quantitative assessments. You can say, all right, within these 2 years, this is the rate of erosion within the cliff area. So there's a lot of uses that you can get the 3D models for. Today, Chad is going to be showing you how we actually create the fly-throughs. We call them fly-throughs because sometimes it gets a little bit mixed up with, like, are they drone footage? Because it's just like a movie that could be created by a drone. The reason they're a bit different, and the advantage of using the 3D model, is that you can look at it from hundreds of different angles. So you can have the model, but you can create hundreds of different views of that model and create your fly-throughs. When you do for this purpose, when you use drones, you've got restrictions, you've got battery life issues, certain heights from certain people you shouldn't be flying that. So there are those sort of restrictions. So what we're promoting is that get this done once, which we've done for City of Ankaparinga. They're using it for so many different reasons, not only that survey product or for community consultation, but also for even tourists attraction, or if you want to show your coastal, show off your coastal areas. So the advantage that Filmmakers will be getting from the using the model and creating the fly-through is that diversity of views. So you can look at it, turn it around, create that fly-through, and hopefully Chat will show you how you can do that today.
You Google AEROmetrex City of Ankaparinga, all these videos come up on YouTube.
Wow. So you can see how detailed the models are.
So are you providing all the textures as well as the
Yeah, because the model comes with all the textures, and then you can also go into those shots where it just shows the mesh, so the wireframe across the point cloud as well, and then untextured if you need that too. So it's a few different.
So were the houses there, or you remodeled?
No, this is all that. It's a snapshot in the time as well. Everything that we modeled was there at the time of capture, which was in 2015. So the details is amazing. With traditional survey methods, you can get these details. For example, anywhere that there is a cave, traditional model methods will be LiDAR or laser scanning. It will miss parts of the cliffs or parts of the information. But using the 3D models, you get a really comprehensive view of your coastline. So hopefully by the end of the session, you're able to create views or film like movies like this.
You can either break it down to have the texture on off, change it to wireframe, point cloud, texture and combinations of the two. So they're basically, I can print out a sheet that has all the hotkeys for it, but it's quite straightforward. It's just texture is T, point cloud is P, wireframe W, so it makes sense in most ways. You've got a few other options you can do as well.
Are you working on it right now?
What's that?
Are you working on it right now?
Yeah, so this is the actual model that we're moving through.
And so you can use those keys up the top?
Yes. Yep. So all the keys are in the menus as well. Right. So you've got options to change the camera angle and things like that as well if you need. You can switch it over to a stereo mode, which if you have the stereo glasses, you can actually see it as a full 3D object. not be useful for everyone, but it's fun sometimes.
Okay.
And that, you can also use this tile selection method, which we often use as well, just to highlight areas that you're going to use. So when it's quite an expansive model, you can sort of select different parts of it and then go through and use your keyframes to pick out points and then move across to the next one and be quite accurate with what you want to cover. As far as setting up the fly-through, it's quite straightforward again. It's just a matter of lining up where you wanted to capture your first image. So it's taking a little time to load just because it's running through the network at the moment. So to select a frame, it's just pressing K as your keyframe. It's normally best not to use too much movement to start with, otherwise it can be quite jittery. And you can just move across to your next frame. Just K each time you select a frame, and then just to play that animation. Oh, this is the one at the front as well. It's just A, and that will roll you through the whole animation.
So you just, when you say pick on a frame, how do you know which one is a frame? Or is that your target? Or?
So just your view from the screen.
Oh,
so
okay,
it's just selecting your view from the screen. You're picking that as your key points.
Yep.
And you just press K at that point, and then you move on to the next section which you'd like to pick up.
And then press K again.
Yep. And with this, it has a spline. So rather than flying directly to, it will have like a soft curve to the next frame. And there you can change into texture mode, wireframe.
And if you wanted to have a fly through of the wireframe, can you do that?
Yeah,
you can show any.
Yep, so you can choose how you want to. It will pretty much animate exactly what you've got on screen at the time. So what we often do, where we had the ones before where it had the texture and then the wireframe would fade up partially through the fly-through, we'd normally animate a full textured one and then we'd use that same animation and just do a wireframe one afterwards. And then in the editing software, we'd combine the two so you can have it fade through and go all the way to wireframe or have it partial. You can drop the opacity on the texture one so it just has a hint of it behind. So that's where you can get really creative with it. Acute's quite straightforward in how you actually can record those animations to start with, but it's just endless with the editing software afterwards. It's set at 30 frames per second, which normally works well for most people. And then it's normally just the resolution of your screen. So if you've got a high-def screen, 1920 by 1080, it will render at those resolutions. Once you close down the model, it will come up with a text file, and then in this text file you can also edit the speed and the frames that you want to move across. So this is basically your frame numbers here. So 0 to 150 is the first animation, and then so on. So it's 150 frames per keyframe. If you wanted to speed that up or slow that down, you just add more keyframes to the.
How do you add keyframe?
All you have to do is just, so if we wanted a slower shot to start with, just change that over. So instead of 150 frames, we can change that to 300 frames there. Yeah. So it's very hands-on. It's normally a better way to edit it in the actual editing software rather than through this way, but it depends how you're working. We have to do it so it's quicker to do it this way and then just have a reel. So if you're doing just one animation and then cutting to a complete different section, doing another animation, you can just do that in here, change it to the frames, and then the next one we'd start, instead of at 450, we'd just change that to 301, and then that will do an instant cut.
So it goes from one frame to the next straight away.
Yeah, so it's just a clean cut from one image to the next one, and then that will start that animation from there again.
Are there any limitations, like you're saying that QC was your stuff for sort of cleaning it up as you sort of put it together? Are there any limitations to like the sections as they were taken, or is it all pretty much all clean so that you can do a smooth flight?
Most of this has all been cleaned up. Some of the ocean that you'll notice in acute ones, there's still some roughness. So normally we'd get an area of interest from the client, and that would probably run alongside there, and then you can sort of see where it gets distorted out here. That's sort of the scraps of it, but the main area is in that section. In the skyline kit, we have other imagery, so we cut it cleanly there, and then we add ortho imagery and DTM, which is digital terrain models. So we'll have a basic render of the hills, and then we use ortho imagery, which is just a 2D imagery, over that render, and then that will give you a more, it's not perfectly accurate, it's not in 3D, but from a distance it looks realistic.
The data that Chad was talking about will be given to City of Ankaparinga. Nina will be in charge of handling that to the, just giving it to the filmmakers. So anything that you need in terms of 3D model will be sitting in there. All you need to do is download Acute 3D, which is a free download, and then you will be able to create your fly-throughs through that.
I believe the entire model, the 4 sections, is around 20 gig. I think it's about there. The Skyline kit, I'm not entirely sure how big that is.
Probably you need a hard drive, like.
Either a large USB or a hard drive. So that's rendering the frames now, so you can see it moving slowly, but it will just wait for everything to load up in full detail for each one. If you're wanting to render in high definition, F1 is another shortcut key. It's on the notes. That gives you the full view rather than having the menus on the top and the bottom, and that will give you a true HD. So that's a folder I open S3C from, and then these are your screenshots here. So that just did the start of them. They're just JPEGs. We normally use After Effects to do our editing, and then it's just a matter of clicking on the first one in file, and it just loads them all together. So you could change, if you just wanted a screenshot of it, you can just take one screenshot, or you can do an animation, drop it to one frame, and run it out that way. Otherwise, if you just have it loaded up on your screen, and then just have it full-size screen and just do a screenshot of that, or just a still image.
We will be also negotiating some other models that you might be able to use. So at the moment, for sure, you can get Ankaparinga model, and for this project that you're going to be using for next year film festival. But I'm hoping that I can get some of our other models, like the city model, like Adelaide model. You might be able to use that in your movie, in your films. So we'll be negotiating, and I'll be in touch with Alison and Nina to see what we can do. About 2 weeks ago, we captured Marion. It's still getting processed, so all of the coastline, Marion coastline, is getting processed. So I don't know if it will be quite ready to be used, but yeah, that's a possibility.
So this is the Skyline kit, which is based off the same model, but then it's cleaned up, and then it has the extra, both the ocean footage and then the hills in the background as well. So if you're looking to do more, you can do shots from sort of outer space, zoom in right in, directly into some detail further in, closer into the model. So you can see the water's cleaned up and it's much smoother out towards there, and then this is where the DTM and then the ortho imagery is, the 3D model at the end, closer to the side. So to set this up, you've got your keyframes, your frames per second. Normally you take them up to 30 again, just so it's smooth and matches in with the rest of it. You can choose your size, so normally we'd always do full HD. We've got options here which you can change to spline or fly to, so you have the option of having curved fly-throughs, or it will just go from one point direct to the next point. very sharply. And then you've got your play speeds as well, so you can adjust those if you want to slow or very fast. From here it's just a matter of setting up a presentation and then editing that presentation.
We may have some 2D images just from the plane, but I'm not sure if that will be. So what we do, the 2D images that we do, so for example, Council probably actually have some of that data that they can provide you with if you want.
I don't know, but I can find out.
Yeah, so we fly the whole Council 4 times a year from this year. We used to do only in January. So aircraft goes take the images and we create the maps. So at the background of all of those maps that Nina showed you also, there could be imagery or it could be digital train models, and that's what we've created and what we've captured. But that's been captured with aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft, and the 3D models is captured by a helicopter. So it's a bit closer, like altitude-wise, and also we do different methods of capture. So the 2D images, they're available through the council if you would like to probably maybe liaise with Nina to see if you can access those. Yeah.
We do have the cube. Is that
The cube. Oh, that's incredible.
I didn't think of that yet. So when we were actually when we were capturing Marion a few weeks ago, I don't know if it's been processed or not, so I don't know how available that will be. And also we need to find out the permission if we can use it or not. But when we were capturing Marion, the helicopter that we hired was picking us up from McLaurinville, and our operator just took a few pictures of the helicopter. So that's something that we can negotiate maybe to see if we can use that. So that would be something maybe for you.
Cool.
I think you're in luck.
Yeah, so it's not ready to
I
be used.
understand, yeah.
So
Because
yeah,
it doesn't look clear.
no.
No, yeah, it's all reflective surfaces are a real challenge.
For doing extra work like some simulation or adding some of the 3D objects, if you want to just do a 3D like building or just put a 3D object, you may need the Pro version.
Film schools would have some software programs for doing animations, for example.
Possibly.
Could you put that data into a range of software programs?
So OBJs, which is just another file extension, and OBJs you can put into 3D modeling programs. So it's Blender, Mesh Mixer, which are both free software as well. So Blender's it's a very complex program, but it's quite easy to use for different sides. But you can create complete animations similar to how you do a stop model animation, but in a digital sense. So we often use that, and then we can remove. That's what we take out the cars and pedestrians and distortions in models. You could use that the same way to add more animations into your actual model, and then you could reprocess that out as a F3C. Or in Blender, you can do fly-throughs as well with the straightforward OBJ. Having said that, the OBJs are normally broken down into much smaller objects because they're very complex and very dense and heavy for the computer to handle. So you're normally using a tile either from 100 by 100 meters up to maybe a square K. So you wouldn't be able to do that with the entire coastline section.
So are you guys happy to, if filmmakers, because obviously not too many people in this room know how to do animation, but if some animators were interested in particular files, are you happy for us to ring and
Yeah,
or
sure.
for me to ring you and
To our say capacity.
find out?
We can
those files and
check
use?
what's available to be used. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can assess it at
Yeah.
Case
what
by
we can
case.
do.
Yeah, on
that's
how
right.
much
Yeah.
time it would
That's
take.
right.
and-
Yeah.
All right. So it's owned by City of Onkaparinga, and we've committed to giving it to any filmmaker to be used for this festival.
But is that only
It
for
has
this
been.
festival, or could the film be?
It's a good
for any
question.
different-
I
yeah,
think
so
no,
that's good.
just for the
Just for the film
just for the film festival.
The rights
Yeah.
are reserved for this festival.
And
Yeah.
we will get a document that you'll have to sign, and just for legalities, and
Yeah.
you know, it's an incredible sponsorship from Operinga, incredible sponsorship from AEROmetrex. You know, it's
AEROmetrex have been amazing. We're not paying AEROmetrex for this. We paid them for the data, and they are doing this whole workshop and all of this support for filmmakers completely just because they think it's a good idea. So yay for them.
Yeah.